listen. Let me not lie to you, I promise.
All right. Welcome to the 18th edition of the worst fucking podcast on the internet. I am your host, Angry Vegan Cyclist, the one, the only veggie munching, pedal smashing asshole on the internet. Right. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I guess nothing's really changed this week. I don't. I'm running out of shit to say in the introduction. Come check out my Discord server. Um, what else? Alcoholic Gaming's really slowed down in his content production. Kind of disappointed, but whatever. What else is going on? Not much has changed, which is good. Things are stabilizing, still stabilizing on my end, or well, already mostly. I'm okay. All right, let's just put it that way. So, but anyway, yeah, weather's nice. I've been ramping up my training as well, so I might run into the schedule a little bit, but in any case, my plan for now is to just air whenever TFM is airing because, I'm a passive aggressive asshole that's subtly trying to steal his fans. I mean, just it's this time just seems to be convenient for me, so that we'll just leave it at that. Anyway, we've got an okay lineup of topics. It's mostly orienting around politics and a little bit of science. So I guess we'll just get started. Anyway, okay. So, all right, our first article is the one that stuck out most to me last week. This section, the far right, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. Jesus, oh, that's so stupid. Okay, Moms for Liberty. Yes, literally the Karen Assembly, who just doesn't like, I guess, like the global homo putting books in their libraries. Moms for Liberty listed as an anti-government group by extremism watchdog. Subtitle: the Parents' Rights, quote, group has backed book bans and the removal of discussions of race and LGBTQ plus issues in schools. Now, before reading this article, just take a nice good look at this picture. Just the fucking irony of this. So this picture here, Moms for Liberty, we want, I guess, and this guy's hands blocking the second word here, whatever, not co-parent with the government. Do you know how to not co-parent with the government? Raise your own fucking kids. If you do want the government to stop co-parenting your kids, stop giving it to them for 7 hours a day. Just a thought, What the hell do I know? I'm just some childless dickhead on the internet, but I mean, letting the government parent raise your children for 7 hours a day is kind of willing co-parenting with the government. So, already, what the fucking dumbest thing about this as stupid as the article is, which actually it's actually kind of subtly smart considering once you actually factor in their agenda and what they're trying to do here. What's the real stupid people here are the fucking Karens running this group. So Moms for Liberty, the liberty and justice of sending your kids to public school. Like, you're just shooting your own foot and then expecting that foot to function as you jump around on it. Like, what the fuck? Do you see how not really hypocritical, but self-defeating this prophecy is? Like, God, you're stupid. Anyway, so the subheadline here is the Southern Poverty Law Center places Moms for Liberty in the same category as the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, and the John Birch Society. I swear to God, all those fucking organizations are all like sting ops. They're there to fish out people who just generally don't like the government. And yeah, it's just so. What's funny is that obviously this isn't the first occurrence of such a phenomenon. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which is on paper not a branch of the federal government, is acting like one, or trying to, or clearly in the pocket of the federal government. So they're categorizing them as an anti-government extremist. Okay, well, why is a non-government organization concerned about anti-government sentiment? Why should they fucking care? Now, furthermore, what's interesting here, to get back what I was going to say about maybe a couple minutes ago, they are using and partially rightfully so, they are using the First Amendment, the right to free speech and expression association, against people who criticize what the public schools are doing. Interesting, isn't it? So on paper, they are actually following all the rules. It's a repression of, to some degree, it is a repression of free speech to say that, okay, well, you literally wanted books banned from a public school so kids can't read them. Like, regardless of what the content is, yes, that is a restriction of free speech to some degree. I don't care what you think I'm implying with it. Why don't you use your gray matter instead of your white matter if you think that I'm siding with them? Not necessarily. So, clearly this is about suburbanite Karens who they're tired of the kids telling them about drag queen story time and really underage exposure to sex ed. So you can call it pornography, but then you must accept that you're saying that rhetorically. It is, for the most part, sex ed. Now, my opinion, not right or wrong, because I don't believe in right or wrong. In my opinion, 12's a bit early. I'd say about 14 to 16, yeah, it's about the time to talk to kids about the birds and the bees. And they know what it is. But on the other hand, again, don't say to my face that they don't fucking know what porn is. They don't know what sex is. They're joking about it and talking about it, making fun of each other about it. Hopefully not doing it, but talking about it, thinking about it, knowing about it, long before you really do acknowledge it. No matter what you do, you could literally dot all your I's, cross all your T's as the perfect parent. They're going to find out. So, their argument is, why not teach kids the right and wrong of it? Or how to be responsible or whatever with the idea of sexuality. That is their argument. And to which I say, okay, like 13, maybe 14 to 16. Again, that is the time you have to. Otherwise, like, teen pregnancy happens, right? You don't want that. So, as for like the LGBT, okay, now there actually, again, on paper, there actually is a very solid, like, legally presentable argument stating that any assembly against LGBTQWERTYUIOP, like left bracket, right bracket, and backslash, like literally going down a row of keys on the keyboard, you could say that is the repression of the alphabet train's expression for kids. Now, I also got to ask you, so kids will always find something stupid to follow or imitate because they are trying to figure out what is cool and what isn't. They might think something is cool, and then they try it, and then they realize, oh, it's actually kind of stupid. I really regret doing that. Or they'll grow up to be adults and be like, hey, look at this stupid shit I did when I was a kid. I thought that was cool, bro. I was such a retard. You did it. I did it. We all did stupid shit as teenagers. No. So, the only thing that's really changed here, in my perspective, is that being gay is now cool. Whether or not that actually means, like, having sex as a teenager, not necessarily. At least just acting, looking, virtue signaling to praise gays or whatever for some sects of a school or a culture or regions of the United States or other parts of the Western world. To some degree, that is cool. Kids are going to find something stupid to imitate anyway. Now it just happens to be a small percentage of them are like they're fake gay to be cool. What has changed? Sex, drugs, and drama have always been part of high school, or even middle school, depending on where you're at. I ask again, what has changed? So, in my opinion, people are kind of freaking out about nothing. The news is always going to blow things out of proportion. They're going to take the minority of cases and make people think. Because again, people think with their white matter, not their gray matter. They don't laterally integrate the fact that, okay, the news is victim to what's called the the mad world fallacy. Damn it, is that what it's called? No, bad world fallacy. No, what the fuck is it called? Shit. Let me I need to know this. Hold on. Let me go ask ChatGPT real quick. It's a type of generalization fallacy where it's a type of hasty generalization fallacy that hasty generalization fallacy where the news specifically produces dramatic, violent, shocking, otherwise negative events that the viewer sees and makes the incorrect assumption where all of life and reality is such. Something along the lines... Damn, can't type. Along the lines of mad world fallacy, question mark. No, okay, whatever. So, if any of you and whoever's watching, let me know what the hell it's called. I know there's a fucking name for it. Even ChatGPT can't tell me anything. But it's so whenever people look at the news and they think they don't, of course they don't actually look at like real data, or let alone have the brain power to figure out what the fuck the data even means. And even then, numbers are just numbers. They're not statements. So you could, and a group of people could look at the same numbers and come up to completely different conclusions as to why the numbers are such. And how do you measure these things that are ultimately qualitative rather than quantitative? For example, how far is too far to expose children to adult knowledge and life? So that clearly a lot of people have varying perspectives on that. So whenever people look at this stuff in the news, for example, a lot of Europeans, they look at it, look at these Americans, and then everywhere they go, their kids are getting shot in schools. Well, obviously not. Otherwise, why the fuck are people still sending their kids to public school? These are indeed rare and almost, I wouldn't say statistically insignificant. Sure, they're an issue, but they're clearly the minority of cases. The average child going to public school in the United States isn't going to die in a shooting. Duh. But the news coverage of it makes people think with their white matter that people in the United States, so that every school's like this, even though that's literally not unfactual and stupid that I say it. That's what people are thinking. Because white matter is about quick connections, not about lateral integration and thorough analysis. That's what gray matter is for. So, what is? So there's a subtle push. I will not deny that there is a subtle push towards repression of dissent towards the government. And that's what the Moms for Liberty, I suppose, is. Along with the quote-unquote anti-government organizations like the Oath Keepers, whatever the fuck the Three Percenters and John Birch Society is. That just sounds like some super like cringe prepper bullshit. I just, whatever, I can't even take this shit seriously. It's just comedy at this point, all right? Just come and laugh with me. All right. So I think that's enough of a preface. Let me just... Let me clear my desk off real quick now. I'll start reading the article. We'll look into it further. So, okay. Oh, my neck. All right, so the Southern Poverty Law Center has listed the Republican-connected parents' rights group, Moms for Liberty, as an anti-government extremist organization in its latest Year in Hate and Extremism report. How fucking official. Look at that. Capital letters. Look at this. Professional. Bravo. C'est bon. Voila. Oh my god. Fucking Christ. All right. In a statement accompanying the report's release, a spokesperson for the extremism watchdog group that wrote that Moms for Liberty was the most prominent of 12 extremist anti-student inclusion groups mobilizing to attack public education, ban books, and remove any curriculum that contains discussions of race discrimination and LGBTQ plus identities. The listing puts the group whose members and endorsees now sit on school boards across the country in the same category as anti-government organizations like the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and the John Birch Society. In an emailed response to the Guardian's request for comment, the Moms for Liberty founders Tina Deskovich and Tiffany Justice wrote, quote, name-calling parents who want to be part of their child's education as hate groups or bigoted just further exposes what this battle is all about. Who fundamentally gets to decide what our kids are, what is taught to our kids at school? Parents or government employees? The pair added, we believe that parental rights do not stop at the classroom door, and no amount of hate from groups like this is going to stop that. Moms for Liberty was co-founded in January 2021 by Deskovich and Justice, who had exited Central Florida school boards after opposing COVID-19 restrictions at public schools, along with Bridget Ziegler, then in her second term on the Sarasota County School Board. The group soon expanded its campaigning remit to oppose teaching about racism and racist history and LGBTQ plus inclusive policies in public schools, and has since sought to land members and supporters on school board seats. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center report, the group has made its way by intimidating and harassing teachers and school officials, battling teachers' unions, attacking corporations like Disney who are supporting... I can't fucking take this shit seriously. Attacking corporations like Disney that are supportive of LGBTQ plus rights and supporting and making use of laws like Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay statute, which limits classroom discussion of gender and sexual identity. Moms for Liberty expanded into a nationwide network of more than 200 branches, and the SPLC now lists each of these branches as an extremist group. While the group is claimed to be nonpartisan, from the beginning it has had close ties to the Republican Party, especially in Florida, where it has won the backing of the right-wing governor of 2024 and 2024 President Ron DeSantis. Ziegler's husband, Christian, was serving as vice chairman of the Florida Republican Party when she co-founded Moms for Liberty. And in 2021, he reportedly credited the group with getting, quote, 20 and 30-year-old females involved with the Republican Party. Yeah, fucking good luck. In Florida's 2022 elections, DeSantis made an unprecedented endorsement of a slate of school board candidates, many of whom were members of Moms for Liberty or other radical parents. Oh my God. Fuck. In turn, Ziegler and other prominent members of the group offered vocal support of his rhetorical, legal, and legislative attacks on diversity and inclusion measures in the state's public institutions, or what the governor has called the, quote, woke mind virus. Oh, that's cute. Elsewhere in the report, the count of active extremist groups is set at 1,225, which is not significantly greater than the 2021 count of 1,221. The SPLC has attributed the slowed growth of a significant collapse in the militia movement. What the fuck is it? What? What militias? You're just fucking with me at this point. A collapse in the militia movement, which accounted for only 61 groups in 2022, down from 92 in 2021. The fact that the SPLC said it was due to, quote, members and leaders being held accountable for their role in the deadly January 6th attack. Ugh, shut the fuck up. However, in the statement accompanying the report, the SPLC warned that, quote, hate groups are increasingly engaging in public demonstrations, using flyering, marches, and banner displays to gain media attention, with schools in particular emerging as a target not just for radical parents groups, but for established hate groups like the Proud Boys. Right, with the leader being outed as a fucking FBI agent, right. Hate groups, sure. In a statement, the SPLC and CEO Margaret Huang called such attacks, quote, a concerted effort by hate groups and extremist actors to terrorize communities and gain control of public institutions by any means necessary. Fuck you, I'm not donating money to your dog shit news journal. I'm here to whore the article off for free. Okay, so it's like... you know that Spider-Man? Hold on, let me see. Find that. No, two Spider-Man meme. You know, like this is. It's like this meme right here. It's this fucking this meme right here where there's like two Spider-Men pointing at each other, coming out of the fucking. So this one's the federal agent, and this one is like. This one's like, I guess, the SPLC and the rest of the government. And they're fucking pointing at each other about who's the bigger anti-government operative, right? This is exactly what's going on right now. It just sounds like the feds, I guess is not even limited to just the American government at this point, is just kind of, it's accusing itself of fucking up. I don't know, becoming anti-government or whatever. The anti-government government group, which is just, I suppose that's just scum eating itself. But I mean, I don't know who to place bigger fault in. It's clearly a feedback loop. So people, for a litany of reasons that aren't directly related to this conversation right now, people don't want to raise their own children. You could say that, okay, this is because of inflation. But on the other hand, hear me out. If women didn't work, they had all day to raise the children, and then the wages of the men for the labor force being cut in half would go up. But of course, that would probably cause a further increase in inflation, which means we have to print more money or raise taxes, and then so you could argue, okay, it's a financial problem. But then why is inflation coming in the first place? Well, 70 and going back to 2015. This timeless picture right here. This is just 2015. Okay? So look how fucking big this is. Well, discretionary spending. I guess in this case it is the military, which is, could also be sized down if you ask me. Total federal spending. What's the biggest slice? Social Security, unemployment, labor, which means jobless benefits, Medicare, health, socialized health care, federal subsidy of health care, 27%. Military is the second, okay, this is the second biggest slice, but all these combined, along with veterans benefits, which is like, okay, 33 plus 27, that's 50, 60% plus 4% veterans benefits. 64% of the federal spending in 2015 was income redistribution in one way or another. You could lump veterans benefits into the military expenditure, then that'll be 20%. Yeah. So that's why inflation is a problem to begin with. It's because people like you and me voted for free money from other people. But don't you dare raise my taxes. So that's really the essence of it, which just comes to like the fundamental human flaw of like refusal of responsibility and accepting a lower standard of living and just trying to optimize the living on a thinner budget rather than, I don't know, hoarding money off of the government, right? All right, back to children. You let the government co-parent with your children. You vote for in the government. You think your vote matters, and you piss and moan through Moms for Liberty, and then it gets shut down. So again, if you are against what they're teaching your kids in school, pull them out of school and raise them yourself, or hire someone, get grandma to raise the kids, or uncles or nieces, or I don't know, your fucking family. Oh wait, you don't want to deal with them? Okay, well, go eat shit. Like, the government is accountable to the people, especially in a democratic system, especially whenever there's a somewhat of a threat of rioting. But if neither of those forces are present, what is stopping the government from doing whatever the hell they want? Now, the next question is, okay, what does the government want and why? Well, the government answers to its people through lower-ranking officials. Lower-ranking officials influence the higher-ranking officials. So who are the lower-ranking officials? They're like your state, province, and city governors. You have a decent voice in your local politicians. They might actually hear you. So, except in a big city, of course, and then that's just a fucking joke. But anyway, yeah, it's just a sad state what we've come to. We're just so fucking lazy. We can't even raise our own children. You'd think the pinnacle of achievement is like is amounting to something greater than having kids. Like having children is just like the basic thing that literally almost anyone can do. But clearly, raising children is a completely different story. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just sad. This is what humanity's come to. But such is life. So, actually, this segues great, very smoothly into a later topic, which I'll do next instead. Quote. Psychologist and Harvard professor from Rebecca Rolland, and subquote, "We are turning children into people who act robotically," by Diana Oliver in El País, which is some fucking Spanish news journal, I guess. What the hell is this? Yes, I accept. Oh, well, just some fucking Spanish-American news journal. Spanish-American, because of the first... okay, yeah, whatever. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Yeah. Very interesting, very, very, very interesting article. Let's get started. So, Momo, the character created by writer Michael Ende, had a gift. She knew how to listen. People came from all over the small amphitheater where the little girl loved to talk, at least until the gray man arrived to steal people's time for chatting. According to the American psychologist, author, and Harvard University professor of education Rebecca Rolland, 43, something... The perfect Karen age, by the way. Something similar happens today, especially with our children. We have superficial, logistical conversations, but spend little time with deeper conversations which we fully listen, she explains to El País by email. Rolland, who is also an oral and written language specialist in the Department of Neurology in Boston Children's Hospital, recently published The Art of Talking with Children, published by Harper 1, 2022. In the book, the author argues that if we take advantage of small day-to-day conversations and eliminate time stealers, the term she uses in her book to refer to the abuse of technology, for example. These conversations can serve as great opportunities for learning and developing creativity, and we also strengthen our bonds with our children in the process. Question: Why do you believe we need a manual for talking to children? Oh God. We clearly fucking need one. Do we deserve it? No. Answer: We all want the best for our children, and ultimately for society. We try to do the best. We try our best to do that. We take them to activities. We do homework with them. We go to events that they organize at school, and so on. But we do not account for the most important key to their development: the conversations we have with them on a daily basis. Often these conversations are logistical. They are very focused on how we'll get from one place to another, what our schedules are, generally how we get through the day-to-day. There's a lot of research on this that says that if we take these day-to-day conversations and make them opportunities for learning and developing creativity in children, as well as reinforcing bonding, these conversations can be much more effective and we can improve our lives. I hope this manual can help parents do that. How disconnected are we from childhood? Answer: I think we are, with our busy work lives, we attach a lot of importance to children's achievements and performance, but we also often forget what it's like to be a child. Sometimes we are so far removed from a child's experience, we could just be letting your mind go blank or walking around and looking at what you see. What does give us hope is that we have a great opportunity because children are wonderful to talk to. They have a natural playfulness and a sense of wonder, and they see the world from a very different perspective. We have forgotten that because we have learned so much about the world. For example, children often wonder, why don't we get younger and younger? Or what would happen if we lived on Mars? We often forget to ask these important questions. Yes. 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 And by spending more time with children and talking to them more, we not only help them, but also reawaken our capacity for wonder. Question: It has been 50 years since the publication of Michael Ende's book Momo. When you read it, it seems like a premonition of many things that we are experiencing today. What would you say are the gray men who steal our time today? It's the government. And your own fucking lack of agency as a human being. Answer: There are many different things that steal children's time. That is partly because we fill our schedules with so many things to do. Instead of talking to them, we load them up with experiences and don't give them time to reflect. We are turning them into people who act robotically, and they are not creative. They are not creative people and do not follow their interests. Another very clear component of this is that there are children who are very focused on social media and using the internet. Oh, please. Of course, technology can be put to good use with children, but when they are too focused on searching the internet or looking at one perfect picture after another, they don't realize how much of their time they spend doing that. For example, I know of a case where a child was interacting only through social media, and I think that we can't have them lose those experiences as children and let their lives be focused on only the likes they get. In your book, you emphasize that society wants children to grow up too fast. Is this a symptom of how we live? Answer: Right now, we certainly live in a culture that is very focused on performance and efficiency, and with the best of intentions, we often want children to fit into a perfect mold. I think we worry about them falling behind, but then we have to realize that children's development takes place over time. Yes, just like any development, even as an adult. Children benefit more from activities that are related to play and discovery, allowing them to discover things for themselves rather than us teaching them a lot of things, especially if they are not ready to do it. So, if we put a lot of pressure on them at the beginning, they tend to become anxious because they're not ready for the things that we are doing. And they also feel the stress that we feel. We transfer it. It is important that we reset and respect their natural rhythms. Question: In your book, you suggest taking time to talk mindfully with them. How does that kind of conversation help children's development? Answer: This is very important. It is a fundamental change in the way children develop and relate to us. We are creating little moments for children that build up over time, and that builds their kindness, their confidence, and their creativity. We are inspiring them to think for themselves and recognize that they do indeed have good ideas, that their reflections, their contributions are valuable, and that they should continue with them. I think right now we are in a crisis of conversation. Children feel very isolated, sometimes depressed or stressed, and we need those little moments of talking with them to be able to break that cycle. Question: How can we make a difference with our conversations? What are your recommendations? Answer: I would start with curious readings. Curious reading is fantastic to do this with children for 5 or 10 minutes, or a couple of times a day. No matter how old they are, we sit next to them and watch them. That way we know what they like and what does or doesn't interest them. Maybe a toddler playing with pebbles and a teenager is playing video games. It's about sitting next to them and seeing what's on their mind. What do they like? What fascinates them? And then we ask them questions about this interest. Do we know how to listen? I think that listening is undoubtedly one of the most significant challenges. Often we don't listen very well or thoughtfully, and we don't teach children how to listen well or effectively either. Sometimes we think we are listening, but really our mind is somewhere else. Story of my life. If we teach children to listen, they will be better able to listen to their peers, to us, and their teachers. This way, we can create a much more broader culture of communication. Is there a technique of getting the attention for someone who is not listening? Answer: Yes, I would say yes. First, by using humor. If I think someone is not listening to me, I can say something silly that has nothing to do with the conversation and see how long it takes for them to realize I said something silly. Oh man, this is brilliant. For example, if you were talking about homework and suddenly you start talking about elephants, you can try to measure how long it takes the child to realize that you are not talking about the same thing. Another idea is to ask someone to repeat what the other person is saying or what they think the other person was saying. Quote: If you were really listening, tell me what you heard, and then ask a question. A lot of times we don't do this. We don't teach children to ask listening questions. I think teaching children to ask these kinds of questions and modeling it for them is a wonderful way to teach them to listen. Okay, now look at this. Look at this fucking article I just read to you. What is wrong here? Do you know what's wrong here? These are all perfect solutions. Someone is actually proposing a solution to something that everyone else acknowledges as a problem. Everyone else is too busy fucking virtue signaling. Oh, we should do this. We need to do that. God help our children. Change this in the public school. Bitch, 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 piss, 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 moan, moan, moan. And look at this woman. She's actually giving solutions, step-by-step instructions, how to talk to your kids to foster intellect and creativity and make them more interesting human beings. Isn't that just a fucking atrocity? Can you believe this shit? I am flabbergasted. Solutions to a problem in a very actionable step-by-step process that are probably going to work? What the fuck is this nonsense? Unbelievable. Anyway, sarcasm aside, seriously, this is. Thank you, Miss or Mrs. Rowland. God, about fucking time. Like I didn't even have to add to this article. Like it just took all the words right out of my mouth. Every single strategy I implement with people to test if they're actually fucking paying attention, laid out right here. You fucking beat me to it. I should have written this book. I mean, you know what? You deserve it. You're my hero. Holy fuck. Jesus. Ugh, man. About fucking time someone said this stuff. Brilliant. So anyway, totally not sponsored. I really should be, but go buy this lady's book and talk to your fucking kids. For God's sake. Stop counting on the public school to do that for you. What a disgrace. How do you call yourself a parent like that? Ugh. Anyway, speaking of the sophistications and nuances of human language, what is the... where's the article? I thought I had a fucking article here. I came here to read, not fucking shorten my attention span with a shitty PowerPoint. Come on. Where is this? Okay, whatever. I guess we'll just roll with it. So, speaking of the nuances and the complexities of human language, DeSantis tries to define woke after Trump said, quote, half the people can't define it, and ends up with, quote, more slogans and scary words. Story by Mila or Mila. No, that's probably Mila. Whatever. I don't know who the fuck this is. Okay, slide 1. DeSantis tries to define woke after Trump said, quote, half the people can't define it, and ends up with more slogans and scary words. Donald Trump went after DeSantis' whole brand, being anti-woke, stating that half the people cannot even define it. So a reporter asked DeSantis just that. DeSantis' brand ended up on a jacket. Mrs. DeSantis wore a leather jacket with a statement on the back. What the fuck? God, this is some shitty writing. What? DeSantis' brand ended up on a jacket. Mrs. DeSantis wore a leather jacket with a statement in the back, comma, quote, where woke goes to die, period, end quote. What kind of fucking... Jesus. God, you guys need to just slow the fuck down. Oh my God. God, journalism is so dog shit. Anyway... So just a preface. So, okay, half of the people can't define that is correct. So, from my observations, and again, the complexity and nuances of human language, the way I see woke being used is to describe one of two things. Or usually there's an overlap between the two. One, people who hold, you could say neoliberal progressive beliefs, and then turn around and champion themselves as aware of the social issues, thus being awakened to the grim reality of oppression from, I don't know, fucking society or whatever, if you're not white or gay or female or whatever. And two, being giant cocksuckers of the government. But because of the policies espoused by one being part of the government policy, known as, like, in the United States, known as Title 5, 7, and 9, as well as any civil rights acts, as well as, like, whatever declares LGBT, QWERTYUIOP as as a protected group. That is now part of the regime. So in some sense, you were actually, I wouldn't say you're a leftist, you're a right wing. You're a right wing proponent at that time. You were standing for the status quo, as is. You were standing loyal to the king, loyal to the government. So you were actually right wing if you're woke. But of course, because Americans don't know what the fuck they're talking about in their entirety of existence, they reference the left and right of the lesson. They reference the status quo of the 80s, where the culture was kind of the opposite. So, and in any case, you know, there's the government. There's like I call it the Fallout 4 model. So there's the institute's in the middle. Everyone wants to be the institute. They want to take the throne, or you could say the Game of Thrones model. And then the rebellion is just all the groups around it. So that's really the true division: the center and the orbitals, the status quo and the rebellion. So anyway, yeah, let's keep going on this. I think I clarified enough. Okay, DeSantis's brand ended up on a jacket. Mrs. DeSantis wore a leather jacket with a statement on the back, "Where woke goes to die." Oh wow, so scare, much intimidation. Despite 90 degrees in Iowa, Casey DeSantis proudly shared the design. Okay, yeah, it's fucking sweaty. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're wearing a leather jacket? Jesus. You really... I guess you're ardently making your point about where woke goes to die. Rest in penis, woke. The DeSantis gang is coming for you, yo. Casey DeSantis proudly shared the design with an outline of Florida and an alligator. Okay. Echoes of Melania Trump's jacket. And Melania Trump infamously wrote a jacket with the message, quote, "I really don't care, do you?" by Zara. Since Trump's wife wore it while visiting a child migrant center in Texas, the backlash was inevitable. However, according to many sources, the message was relayed to media stories about her and her husband's relationship. And Trump is not a fan of the term woke. Trump recently stated that he does not care about the term because half the people can't define it. NBC reporter Dasha Burns asked DeSantis, quote, in bracket, Trump, said he doesn't like to use the word woke because people don't know what it means. That's obviously a big part of your messaging. What do you say to that? DeSantis' response, quote, "Look, we know what woke is. It's a form of cultural Marxism," DeSantis said and continued. "It's about putting merit and achievement behind identity politics, and that's basically a war on the truth. And as that has infected institutions, it has corrupted institutions." Which I kind of agree, but whether or not you call it cultural Marxism, I think I mean, it comes from both ends. It's not just from the government. It's not just top down. It's coming bottom up. And then they meet together and they shake hands and touch dicks and be like, "Hey, you know, I see you're an oppressed minority. Why don't you vote for me? And I'll give you favors." And then the oppressed minorities, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Politician, sounds like a deal." Shake hands. The same thing happens within the quote-unquote right wing in this context, which is obviously like DeSantis, Trump, or whoever the fuck you classify as right wing arbitrarily so. And they make the same deal, but instead of a quote-unquote oppressed minority, well, actually it is another quote-unquote oppressed minority, for example, farmers. "Hey, farmers, I see that you can't produce an economically competitive product to compete against, I don't know, soy milk. Now, how about you vote for me, and I'll give you economic carve-outs to prop up your, I don't know, dairy business." And the farmer's like, "Yeah, sounds like a deal, Mr. Politician." And then they touch dicks and shake hands. That's democracy for you. Okay, DeSantis had more to add. The Florida governor continued, quote, You've got to be willing to fight the woke. We've done that in Florida, and we proudly consider ourselves to the state where woke goes to die," just like his wife's jacket said. Turns out Trump was right. Trump shared, I don't like the term woke because I hear the term woke. It's just a term that they use. Half the people can't define it. They don't know what it is. And it is the truth. Most people cannot define it, as is derived from registered trademark, okay, African American Vernacular English, AAVE, meaning to, quote, alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. Yeah, that's literally what I said earlier. I'm glad I'm right. Thank you. DeSantis wants to erase woke ideology. Quote, a Fox News reporter asked DeSantis why he decided to run for president now. He said, quote, because everyone knows that if I'm the nominee, I beat Biden, I will serve 2 terms. I will be able to destroy leftism in this country and leave woke ideology in the dustbin of history. Yeah, you fucking good luck. DeSantis' fan account shared his answer. Twitter account DeSantis War Room. God, this is fucking cringe. Oh my God, just stop. Shared the clip from the NBC reporter. The answers are mostly positive, but others proved Trump right. One person said, confusing answer. Trump was right. DeSantis doesn't know what woke means. Another shared, not even close to the real definition, fascist. The third wrote, that's not a definition. He just said more slogans and more scary words. Yeah, well, it sounds like fucking selection bias, but okay. Go on. Pro DeSantis crowd. One Twitter poster wrote, first time I've ever heard the definition of woke that makes sense. Totally agree it's the war on the truth. And another went a bit further, that is true, but however, more than anything, it is a war on whites. Who do you think won this round? DeSantis or Trump? Click to find out. Fuck you. What the fuck is this? What? Okay, I guess that's the end of it. A fucking slideshow article. So, yeah, obviously this is coming from a fucking gossip rag and really should not be taken that seriously. But I mean, I think it's an undervalued examination of, again, the language associated with this entire dogma of government loyalists versus rebellion, which is always going to be a thing in politics. So long as 2 people, 2 or 3 people live on the planet, even animals will do this. Everyone's competing for the top position, the alpha male spot, the throne. And we're all just playing a Game of Thrones, orbiting around it. Everyone else is either part of the rebellion or they're bootlickers to the one whom sits on the throne. So the words change, but the mechanism is still the same. And this goes across all cultures, all points in history, and forever will. And such is life. Okay, what's the next article? So I guess I guess we could talk about dating briefly. Or it could be more than just dating, just general interperson relationships. Or let's see what other topics we got lined up. If anything's more interesting. Okay, all right, whatever. We'll talk about dating briefly. So Pure Wow, which sounds like a fucking bitch magazine. We're calling it "Gophering is the New Ghosting" by Sydney Meister. So, I guess I won't read the entire article in a fucking white girl voice. Okay. So, to preface, okay, so ghosting. I don't even know what the hell gophering is. The fucking kids, they're always coming up with new shit. I really need to keep up. Ghosting, in case you didn't know, ghosting is the practice of not saying goodbye whenever you want to end a business, interpersonal, or romantic or sexual relationship. And people do that. I don't see how this is a modern phenomena. I think it's probably a product of a large groups, large cities, or large communities. Because the more people in the community, the easier it is for you to just disappear instead of taking accountability, saying, I'm sorry, we're not able to complete this transaction. Go eat shit. Bye-bye. It takes a modicum of courage and accountability to do that. A lot of people, they just, they're just pussies, or they're lazy, or they just don't care, and they're busy doing something else, and then people get ghosted. And what is the solution to that? Well, smaller communities. Because whenever there is a smaller number of people within your reach, then it won't happen anymore. people will realize that, oh, well, this is actually the best I can get because there's literally no other option because my community is too small. And it's easier to just settle with someone or something within the smaller sample or smaller city or smaller group community than move to a larger one and go find something better. And a lot of times it comes by the ghosting also comes from like I guess a very, very distorted sense of greed. Distortion, I mean like inaccurate greed. The idea that, okay, well, there is something better, rather than, oh, it's actually in my long-term best interest to take what I have as is now. So yes, a lot of times, yes, in romantic and business relationships, or obviously business relationships, also romantic relationships are an economic decision of sorts. So people are only as, and also let's not forget the fact that people are only as loyal as their options, or so they perceive their options to be. And ghosting is just, I mean, cowardice has always existed in humanity, and it's all often, of course, subjectively defined. But anyway, so that's a primer for any of my older viewers who are not familiar with the term ghosting, but yeah. Anyway, let's get started on the article. I was in the middle of researching the best cooling mattresses when my cousin called me. The weirdest thing just happened to me on Hinge, she said. The Casper show can wait. I matched with a guy who was cute enough, and we've been small talking in the app for a few days, she stated. This morning, I opened the conversation to see he sent his digits and wrote, text me so we can set up a date. Yet when I went to type on his number an hour later, he unmatched me. And wait, what? Is her cousin setting her up with a dude? What is that? What? He unmatched me and the conversation disappeared. Why would someone do that? She cross-examined. And while I had to acknowledge dangling your number on a carrot stick is strange, I chalked it up to him being a weirdo. On to the next, I advised. But then 3 hours later, I received a bizarrely similar call from my friend named Jake. The weirdest thing just happened to me on Bumble, he said. Was I having deja vu? He went on to explain. I matched with this girl. We talked for like a week, and I asked her to grab dinner. She agreed. But then I followed up. Well, when I followed up with the time and restaurant this morning, she immediately unmatched me. What was the point of that? Clearly there's a pattern here. It's not quite ghosting, which would look like someone leading you on, or at least showing up before a first date before abruptly ending the relationship, and it's not a curve. The person who would have to communicate that they are rejecting your advances. So, since my peers' frustration with this whole phenomenon mimics the angry sweat you break into while playing a game of whack-a-mole, I'm giving it a name. Gophering. Okay, so, no, all right, hold on, Miss Meister. So, what's going on is, again, people think they have better options. And because of and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, I'm just stating a fact. Because of the increase in perceived options people have, thanks to online dating, they kind of just carpet bomb. Like, it's really fucking lazy. But yeah, you just carpet bomb conversations with people, and then the second you get bored, or the second you think, oh, well, there's even a better conversation over there, ooh, I'm going to switch. Which is like, yes, humans are literally training themselves to become ADHD. That's what's happening right now. So they're not even ghosting. They're not even emotionally invested. They're just sending out carpet bombing applications and not really following up because there's just no time. I'm too busy. I got other things to do. I've got my hustle. I'm a fucking strong and independent woman, or I'm on my Sigma male grind set. Whatever bullshit that each respective sex tells to the other. It's pathetic. This is why online dating's a waste of time, if you ask me. But anyway, okay, and back to the article. Basically, gophering is the precept whereby you, after you match with someone on the dating app and then put time and effort into making days or sometimes weeks of small talk, the potential suitor jumps ship at the prospect of taking things in real life. The person sucks up your witty banter and flirtatious one-liners, much like Punxsutawney Phil Soaking up the sun only disappear at the first sign of contact. Plus, unlike ghosting, gophering stops a relationship from sprouting past the seed stage. You're precipitously robbed of a potential crush, along with the excitement of meeting someone you can actually hold a conversation with from behind the screen, of course. To that end, dating app Plenty of Fish. I was about to say Plenty of Fat. Plenty of Fish identified a similar trend. Similar trend called Only Plans. Which is the act of repeatedly planning dates with someone but never actually following through on them. That's clever. I gotta hand it to Only Plans. The term involves a single person chatting online with another single person, agreeing to meet IRL for the first date, only to cancel last minute. Quote, 52% of singles have experienced this situation, per the report, which mirrors the same disappointment as that follows being gophered. Nevertheless, you're probably wondering, why are people doing this? Because people are fucking pussies. If dating apps are designed to be deleted, as Hinge's tagline reports, what the fuck? Hold on. We gotta look at that. Designed to be deleted. Hinge is taking a bold new step in differentiating itself from the crowded dating app market. Its new branding campaign was just unveiled with the slogan "Designed to be deleted," assuring users of intention to help them find serious relationships and get off of the app for good. Yeah, what a fucking lofty ideal. Come on now. Why are people running from the hope of meeting a potential partner or joining dating apps at all if that's not the goal? Even if you're not looking for something serious, he's looking at you, booty callers. It's hard to see the value in avoiding physical contact altogether. I'm no doctor, just a zillennial who writes about dating, but it seems to me that the only plausible explanation for gophering is a generational fear of vulnerability. No, it's a fear of accountability. According to a recent survey of 2002 UK adults, 72% of millennials aged 25 to 39 said they've been cut off by a potential partner, and 71% of Gen Zers, 18 to 24, said they've stopped a potential relationship from forming by abruptly ending all communication. Quote, nearly 3/4 of young daters have fallen victim to this pattern, so it is obviously best to keep your guard up, a spokesman for the company summarized. So I don't know if this is... I assume it's a British company, hence the accent, but anyway. Yet from where I stand, keeping guards up seems to be at the root of the problem. Yes. If there's one theme gophering and ghosting share, it's a fear of rejection. Sometimes for the consequences of rejection, people try to sometimes... For the minority of cases, people will take retributive action if you reject them. But, I mean, that's just a risk, and just fucking deal with people in general. Quote, cutting communication early on may feel psychologically safer than engaging in direct conversations about wants, needs, desires, and boundaries, because they can get their needs met on their own terms without having to face the vulnerability and discomfort that comes with potential for abandonment and change, explains Stacy Diane Anya Aranez Litam, PhD, a licensed trademark, registered trademark, professional clinical counselor, in a recent Forbes article. Meaning, an overwhelming majority of singles would rather forfeit possible connections, gopher someone, than be rejected IRL. What's ironic is that now how gophering impacts the other side. People who are gophered may engage in personalization scripts that include, if only I was smart enough, attractive enough, or somehow better, then this would not have happened. In reality, the issue tends to lie with the person doing the gophering, not the person being gophered. Yeah, if you're on the road and someone rear ends you, I mean, most of the time, the party in the back is more, I would say, is responsible. But that's just my code of conduct. All this to say, yes, it feels safer to gopher and avoid the humiliation of returning from a first date with a chunk of spinach in your teeth. I mean, fucking own it. Who gives a shit? Look, if I run into a girl that has like a fucking chunk of spinach and I point it out and say, hey, dumbass, you got a piece of spinach in your mouth, and she she's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, AVC. That's fucking cute. Come on now. And if you can't take a joke, you please stay single. Don't fucking date. Grow some skin. Christ. Anyway, all this to say, yes, it feels safer to go for and avoid the humiliation of returning from a first date with a chunk of spinach in your teeth. But plus, unmatching with someone you never met is hardly a crime. It's far more considerate to cut communication in the early stages instead of stringing someone along for months. But if you find yourself habitually unmatching at the prospect of meeting IRL, it might be worth asking why you joined the apps in the first place. If it's time to take a break, your potential suitors will thank you for sparing them the mind-numbing small talk. Trust. So 18 likes for 281 dislikes. Why the fuck are people mad at this? Why are they disliking this shit? Like this article is like honestly calling these fucking kids out. Like, just stop wasting people's fucking time. And if you say and if you're not gonna you say that, hey, I'm sorry, we're not gonna work out, then say, hey, sorry, I don't think we're gonna work out. With all due respect, I wish you luck on your dating journey. Best, goodbye. What the fuck is so hard about that? Especially dating apps. Like, people can't fucking find you. You reject someone and that person, that male or female, wants to fucking come back, wants to go full yandere on you. How are they gonna fucking find you? Better yet, if that scares you, okay, imagine like what it's gonna be like whenever like you're actually involved with that person and you live with him or her. Yeah. So fucking be afraid and go stay single. I don't think the human gene pool wants you anyway. Overpopulation, my ass. Like, this is the fucking reason why that we're gonna see a drop in population. So, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, it's just you could see the future is bleak, or you could just see that it's just a reallocation of the finite resources of Earth into a smaller number of people, so that their living standard will only go up. It's a quiet genocide where humanity kills itself. So that's the environment, and like it's just, and this is kind of like a stock market thing, or economy thing. So this trend of you can't control other people's behavior. A lot of people will continually try to invest less and less effort and take smaller and smaller risks, or less and less risk, because they don't actually want it. A lot of humans don't actually want to survive, per se. They're just at the behest of their neurochemistry. Do you even consider that human? So you could actually rephrase it that, there's not a decrease in human population. It's not actually genocide. It's just a natural removal of the excess genetics, you can say, or excess animal population. Because these people clearly aren't human. They have no free will. They have no agency. They are just completely at the behest of chemical and electrical forces in their brain and nothing more. What's the issue here? I think it's a bright future ahead of us, in fact, now that I think about it. Yeah? Yeah? And the best part is, you don't even have to do any of the killing. Humans just kind of slowly remove themselves. And the ones that are actually worth keeping around will survive. It's called natural selection. Don't you love biology? It's so awesome. Okay, next article. Progressives' criminal justice reforms are creating more food deserts, quote unquote. I don't... What the fuck is this? Okay, so... Okay, this looks like a short article. No, it's not a short article. So when I look at this, the first thing I think of is, okay, so because of the massive theft that is going on, petty theft that is happening in retail across the United States, these markets, oh shit, oh fuck me, oh god, the cover's still on. How long is? God damn it. Anyway, yeah. So here's the article. Pure wow. 18 to 281 dislikes, whatever. So here's the next article. So what I think is going on is that because massive theft is making retail completely unprofitable in large metro areas where the most of the customers supposedly are, the companies are moving out to avoid the financial pain of getting their shit stolen, losing money. Now, this also means that the retail that also sells food is creating a food desert. Now, food deserts have apparently already been an issue. And then it's just going to create like this vacuum in the city centers and reduce the population density. And then people are going to move outward because that's where the food is. Cheap energy. Yeah. So this is very, very interesting from like an economic, political, and infrastructural, and almost biological aspect. So, fuck it, we'll just read it. So first paragraph. For over a decade, there's been a national discussion about food deserts, usually defined as low income in neighborhoods with little or no access to retail stores that offer fresh and nutritious food options. Progress has been made in reducing the problem until progressive district attorneys and other city officials have began imposing their criminal justice reforms. Thanks to them, food deserts are increasing once again. It has become a regular part of the news cycle. Major retail chains, many of which are grocery stores, announced that they are closing their doors, primarily in inner city and low-income areas. Whole Foods, Walmart, Kroger, and Target have all recently announced that they would be exiting some major urban areas, according to the Washington Post. And it's not just retail outlets that sell food. Nike, Nordstrom, Macy's, Best Buy, Walgreens, and Old Navy are also pulling out of some downtown areas. Which cities are seeing the exodus? The bastions of progressivism: San Francisco, Portland, Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and Seattle, just to name some of the most notable cases. While there were several reasons food deserts emerged in the past, there's one primary reason that they are re-emerging today: record levels of unchecked theft and crime that make stores not just unprofitable, but also unsafe for employees and customers. The National Retail Federation, which conducts an annual survey of retail loss and other security challenges, announced its 2022 survey that U.S. shrink, which includes many types of loss, but mostly theft, was $94.5 billion for 2021, up from $90.8 billion in 2023. So it's like a fucking 5% increase. We'll see. So that figure included a 26.5% increase in organized retail crime. Okay, hold on. Is organized retail or organized crime? That's my question with that statement right there. From 2021. Organized retail crime has almost certainly increased significantly since the end of the last survey. Even more concerning, quote, 8 in 10 retailers have surveyed report that violence and aggression. Oh shit! What did I just close? Oh. 8 in 10 retailers surveyed report that the violence and aggression associated with organized retail crime incidents increased in the past year. If employees or even the customers try to stop the theft, violent and aggressive thieves may respond by physically attacking the staff. Wow. These guys know what they're doing. They're not fucking around. The report claims that the retailers plan to increase resources to address the crime and mitigate losses and the threat of violence, but that was a year and a half ago. It's clear that many major retailers have now concluded they must reduce their exposure to high crime areas. That means more food deserts and less access to nutritious food options. In April, the British Daily Mail ran a story highlighting many of the major U.S. and grocery department stores facing unacceptable levels of crime and violence due to progressive officials' inaction. Quote, Walmart decided to shut off 17 of its stores across 9 states after CEO Doug McMillon warned in December that the theft was the highest it's ever been around the country, and if it did not slow down, stores would have to close. Walmart closed its last 2 stores in Portland, Oregon, due to significant losses. As the Daily Mail notes, Portland is widely viewed as America's most progressive and permissive city, with crime spiraling out of control there and murders hitting an all-time high in 2022. It even appears that London is aware of Portland's failure. And just so no one is confused about who is to blame for all the crime, the Daily Mail adds, progressive district attorneys in cities like Chicago, New York, and Portland, California, have also been blamed for effectively legalizing shoplifting, with either not prosecuting thefts under $950 or letting criminals off with a slap on the wrist. So, progressive city DAs announced that they will not prosecute shoplifters for stealing less than $950, though no one actually seems to be checking to see that the thieves don't go over the shoplifting limit, and crime explodes. Who knew? The Daily Mail helpfully provides a number of videos of the thefts and attacks in various stores. Okay, well, like, shocking moment when Walmart workers beaten by brazen shoplifter. Homeless shoplifter steals 70-inch TV, 22-second time in 3 months. Looters steal $10,000 worth of merchandise from New York City's Macy's. And a counter-narrative, Best Buy workers swarm to shoplifters from stealing phones. Best Buy workers need to be more careful. If the thieves get hurt, a leftist DA will likely prosecute the employees rather than the criminals. Yes! It's called quid pro quo. Hey, you're a fucking worthless, thieving piece of shit who is not useful to society. Oh, wow, there's a lot of you in this city. Hey, tell you what. Vote for me, I'll make shoplifting legal for you. And what does a shoplifter, and what does the kleptomaniac say? Yes, politician. Here's my dick and here's my hand. Please shake both. So they start sword fighting, and then they start shaking hands. Democracy. Needless to say, these are not similar to Victor Hugo's Les Miserables character Jean Valjean, who is sentenced to 5 years in prison for stealing a loaf of bread to feed his sister's starving children. This is exactly how progressives want you to think, that they are helping with their lenient arrest and bail policies, but starving children do not eat big screen TVs. Of course. Of fucking course. As these stores close up and pull out, there will be more food deserts, making it more difficult for low-income and inner-city residents to find food options. Progressives will whine about the closures and blame greedy retailers and racist policies for the departures. But their own soft-on-crime policies are the primary reason food deserts are growing again. Until residents finally vote these scoundrels out of office, they can expect to see more crime and less fresh food. Yep. Yeah, well, what can you do as an average person to deal with this problem? Nothing. Move. Shut the fuck up and move. Yeah, so that's a democracy for you. Hey, politician, I need this. Yes, voter. How about you vote for me and I'll solve that problem for you? Shake hands. Deal. That's how it works. It's not because of fucking ideals. Well, what kind of fucking ideal is that? I mean, like, I guess it's just like, you could see this as like a bastardized hyper-extension of like the fucking Jesus complex that people have. That to like to serve the underprivileged communities by allowing shoplifting. You get the government you tolerate. Yeah, Lululemon is fucking firing people for resisting. Now, okay, now some retail chains are taking the other approach, clearly. I guess we'll just blaze through this article. Quote, from the Daily Caller. Let the theft occur. Lululemon CEO defends firing employees after shoplifters hit store. They're fucking doubling. Oh, wow. Look at you, so fucking woke. Lululemon CEO. Okay, here's the subheadline. Corte Madera, California. June 2nd. A customer enters a Lululemon store on June 2nd in Corte Madera, California. Shares of Lululemon stock surged Friday or the morning after the company had reported better than expected first quarter earnings in a day earlier. The athletic apparel what the fuck, athletic apparel, sure. Athletic apparel company reported that a net income of $290.4 million compared to $190 million 1 year ago, and raised full year growth projections. Lululemon CEO Calvin McDonald is defending the company's decision to fire 2 Georgia employees after shoplifters struck the Atlanta area store they worked in, saying the 2 women did not follow company policy. Quote, we have a zero-tolerance policy that we train our educators around engaging during a theft. McDonald explained Friday to CNBC's Squawk on the Street host Sarah Eisen. In the end, they are trained to step back, let the theft occur, knowing that there's technology and there's cameras, and we are working with law enforcement, he continued. Assistant Manager Jennifer Ferguson and key leader Rachel Rogers were working at the Peachtree Corners Lululemon shop. when masked men wearing hoodies entered the store and took armfuls of merchandise, 11 alive reported. Rogers caught the incident on camera. Both women can be heard vocally protesting the brazen theft in the footage. Afterwards, Ferguson and Rogers called the police, but were later terminated by Lululemon for failing to abide by company policy, the outlet stated. McDonald also said that the employees followed the thieves out of the store. Quote, it wasn't very clear. They didn't give specific reasoning besides just saying that they have a, quote, no-tolerance policy, end quote, Rogers told 11 Alive. A statement echoed by Ferguson, who told the outlet that she was, quote, terminated immediately with no severance. Quote, we are not supposed to get in the way. You kind of clear a path for whatever they're going to do. Ferguson acknowledged 11 Alive. Quote, and then, after it's over, you scan a QR code, and that's that. We've been told not to put in any notes because that might scare other people. We're not supposed to call the police, not really supposed to talk about it. McDonald explained that the stand-down policy is in place to keep employees and customers safe, while adding that while retail theft is a problem, quote, it's only merchandise. Quote, we take the policy seriously because we've had instances and we have seen other retailers, instances where employees step in and are hurt or worse, killed, and our policy is to protect them, but we have to stand by the policy in order to enforce it, McDonald told Eisen. Yeah, right. So, okay, from Lululemon's perspective, so these two people who got fired, they're kind of a liability. So they want to intervene, and everyone knows that these shoplifters can get violent. So Lululemon's like, no, we're not going to take the liability of their injury, as well as the prospective lawsuit of, I don't know, the fucking thieves, because clearly the politicians are with these thieves in exchange for their votes, as I described in the previous article. They don't want to deal with that, so they're just like, you know what? Boo! Flick them off their shoulder, like, bye. And the fucking stock price goes up. Isn't that funny? Yeah, that's just that. America's problems come from its people. So, oh man. Okay, here's an opinion piece by Laura Dalberstein. AI needs a regulatory ecosystem like your car, but not like a czar. Interesting perspective. No single entity tells you to stay in your lane. Why should brain boxes be any different? What the fuck is a brain box? You mean like an AI? The world will need an ecosystem of interlocking AI regulators, pundits argued at the AT and S. What is AT? AT with Singapore conference in Singapore today. Across several sessions, the advent of generative AI was hailed by many at the conference as a defining moment in human history, on par with widespread use with fuel fossils or the industrial. Compared to widespread use of fuel fossils or the Industrial Revolution. The emerging technology naturally had its own segment at the summit, with much discussion over regulation. As government and industry engaged in a robust back and forth, two-thirds themes emerged. Comparisons of generative AI regulation with laws applied to motor automobile laws, and lawyers should not use ChatGPT to write case briefs. Last week, a lawyer did exactly that, complete with citations of six past court decisions on cases that didn't exist. According to Kat Frith Butterfield, Executive Director of World Economic Forum Associated Center for Trustworthy Technology, that lawyer even asked ChatGPT to verify the cases cited were real. Almost every panel the reg attended involved experts having a chuckle at the lawyer's folly. But it also left a lot of people thinking, is it the end user at fault for generative AI's hallucinations, the polite term used to describe mistakes made by the digital brain boxes, period? Global AI ethics and regulatory leader at EY, Dr. Ansgar Coena, had expressed a dislike for the term on grounds it anthropomorphizes machine-made errors. Applying a term for human behavior to a computer's output can lead people to misunderstand what exactly is happening, Coena argued. Quote, generative AI is not operating in an altered state, but rather how it's supposed to, said Coena. He then posed a question, quote, how do we shape government around generative AI if we don't know how it's used? And that in turn prompts another question: who is at fault in this scenario? Quote, doctors and lawyers are using these tools, suggested Butterfield. Quote, it's even more important when non-experts are using these tools, as there is accountability, non-liability. If you aren't an expert, where do you go to check the tool? The onus should be on those creating it. I mean, I say no. Like, if you fuck things up using the tool, I mean, it sounds like a skill issue, bro. That's on you. And with that thought process, almost every panel in the reg ended up leaning into the car metaphor. And not just because cars and AI are fun to drive, expensive to run, and dangerous after 10 beers. Rather, AI needs it regulating in the same way society has regulated the automobile industry. Whenever you produce a new car, you first want to make sure that it's safe to drive before you allow it into the streets, says Netherlands Minister for Digitalization, Alexandra van Huffelen. But it's not only manufacturers who are required to conduct rigorous tests and follow standards. Drivers need licenses and must register the vehicle, must undergo emissions testing. Roads are built to certain standards, and traffic flows are regulated with traffic lights, signs, and speed limits. Parking is only permitted in certain places. Butterfield even pondered out loud on Tuesday whether insurance to mitigate risks of generative AI would ever become the norm. Quote, it's not just about the cars and the roads, but also the city and the way we build the city matters, summed up Koene. Generative AI frameworks must also consider how they are advertised, how data is managed with the consent and secured, and how it is affected by copyright law. The list goes on. The inevitable conclusion is that any resulting regulatory framework will be an ecosystem, not a top-down effort bossed by an AI cop. And for technology that is less than a year old, regulation is coming in fast. Quote, I think the level of international cooperation between U.S. and its allies in Europe and elsewhere is actually phenomenal in the area of AI policy, and there's a lot of harmonization of effort going on, says NVIDIA Vice President Keith Stryer. A man whose employer, NVIDIA, a maker of AI hardware, has many reasons to push back on AI regulation. Yes, very valid consideration of a conflict of interest. But even as he pushed back against government, he suggested that tech could be regulated by professional standards and social norms that define boundaries in education, reminiscent of a big society approach. This technology has been in the marketplace for 6 months. I have never seen this much activity, Stryer said, downplaying the need for urgent action. But at least this week in Singapore, that opinion, that generative AI may be getting more attention than it needs, seemed to be in the minority. Registered trademark. Okay, so this is an opinion, so I guess I'll respond with my opinion. The more regulations you put on AI, I'd assume in 99 cases out of 100, it's just going to stifle the development. So then what the hell are you trying to do? Do you want it to develop? Then stop choking it. Or you can just choke it and eventually remove it and get it to say exactly what the government wants it to say, which, well, what's even the point of the AI at that point? It's just another fucking controlled arm of the government. Why? What the fuck are you? Okay, it should be regulated. To what end? What is your objective? You cannot establish a should unless there's a mutually agreed upon goal. Otherwise, people are saying, no, we should not. In fact, we should do this instead. And that's the basis of basically all human conflict. Because some goals are inherently irreconcilable. Particularly, development of the economy versus eternal expansion of power of the government. So, I don't know. I don't try to, as much as I'm pro-technology, pro-technological accelerationism, I generally don't rely on AI for way too much. It's convenient. If it's there, I'm going to use it. But if it's not, well, I have plan B, plan C, D, E, F, and G. Stay on your feet, stay adaptable, stay versatile. So, that's all I got to say. Okay, nah, I don't care about this. This is kind of interesting. So, perspective. When did the Democratic Party become the party of the upper class? By Jennifer Graham from Deseret News. What the fuck? After Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, pundits struggling to explain the election results came up with a unified theory. It was through the support of the working class. Republican leaders later said it as much. In 2021, a widely publicized memo discussed how to cement the GOP's status as the working class party, calling it a gift from Trump. In fact, the evolution of the GOP to be the champion of the working class predates Trump, but there is no disputing the fact that the Republican Party has been changing, just as the Democratic Party has. And a new poll conducted by Harris X for Deseret News shows exactly how much the Democratic Party has changed. Once proudly the representative of the working man and woman, Democrats are now by a notable margin the party of choice of the upper class. The nationally representative poll, conducted April 18th to 24th, reveals a marked preference for the Democrat Party among respondents who self-identified as upper class or upper middle class. 56% of the upper class voters said that they most identify with the Democratic Party, compared to 28% who chose the Republican Party. Among respondents who said that they are upper middle class, 45% say they are most aligned with Democrats, compared to 30% who side with Republicans. While the lower class and the working poor also have a preference for Democrats over Republicans, the margin of identification with the Democratic Party was more striking among the upper class than any other group. The finding gives teeth to the common cry of conservatives that Democrats are social and cultural elites. It also poses a problem for Democrats who've long relied on working class Americans to bolster their coalition, whose grand proposals often come up with bills they want wealthy Americans to pay. The forgotten class. In the poll, respondents were asked to identify one of 7 categories: lower class, working poor, working class, lower middle class, upper middle class, or upper class. A majority, 39%, made their choice based on the income rather than their job, 10%, or education, 7%, categories which are commonly used by researchers when defining the working class. They were then asked a series of questions including which party and which candidates they most identified with. The answers provide snapshots of where each party is headed and why. Some findings stand out. Many in the upper class seem tone deaf about how the rest of the country is faring. Large majorities of the middle class and below, for example, say that the working class is being left behind when it comes to economic development, while 80% of the upper class say that everyone is benefiting equally. The finding in particular screams elite. Similarly, 62% of the upper class thinks that working class is in a good position, quote. Only 30% of the working class agree. 62% of the working poor and 59% of the working class say politicians don't care about the working class. The forgotten man that Trump often alluded to in his previous campaigns is still out there and still feels forgotten. That may be one reason Trump is still the politician to which most working class respondents relate. He comes in at 48%, 18 percentage points above Ron DeSantis, and 15 points above Joe Biden. There is a sharp divide among the lower and upper classes in regard to Democratic politicians. Upper class and upper middle class respondents say that they are the best represented by Joe Biden, 41 and 44% respectively, while Joe Biden's support drops to 30% and 29% among the working class and the lower middle class respectively. And Bernie Sanders' support is highest among the lower classes, with a high of 33% among the working poor. Elizabeth also does the best among working poor, 25%. Elizabeth Warren also does the best among the working poor, which is 25%. Perhaps most significantly, 74% of upper-class respondents wanted Biden to run again, in stark contrast to the large shares of the middle class and lower who don't want to see Biden run. 67% of the working class and 68% of the lower class doesn't want Biden to be their president again. That is significant, and the Democratic establishment prepares to again present Joe Biden as the solution to America's problems. It does so at a considerable risk. It's not just working class Republicans who feel ignored, but working class Democrats and independents as well. Collectively, they compromise the forgotten class, and right now it's the GOP who is speaking their language. God, there's more of this fucking article. Okay, advantage GOP. Over the past few decades, we've been watching America's political parties seemingly switch identities, not only in their stance, but on issues like law enforcement and free speech, but in the types of candidates they support. Barack Obama, for example, stylized himself as a warrior for the middle class. One of his campaign slogans in 2012 was middle class first. But a columnist for the New York Times conceded that elitism was the, quote, the charge that Obama can't shake, end quote. The image was not helped by Obama's unfortunate characterization of Rust Belt voters as bitter people clinging to guns, religion for solace. They fucking are, though. Fuck them. In contrast, Republican J.D. Vance won his U.S. Senate seat in 2022, but in part by capitalizing on his Rust Belt childhood, just described in his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy. In one interview, Vance referred to the poorest of people of Appalachia as these people, my people. Unlike Obama's comment, the remark was not a political mistake. Political scientists Noam Lupu and Nicholas Carnes said that the white working class support for GOP and presidential candidates has been gradually rising since 1996, and that the biggest single-year increase in the white working class's share of GOP voters came in 2012, when Mitt Romney was the party's nominee. Of course, it's not just the white working class that is trending Republican. Trump enjoyed a deep base of support from Hispanic voters, which helped him carry Florida in 2020. Meanwhile, the share of Democrats with college degrees, historically achievement associated with white-collar jobs and higher incomes, has markedly increased in recent decades, according to Pew Research Center. In 1996, voters who had not attended college represented 51% of Democrat voters, compared to 28% in 2020. Quote, the share of Democratic voters with at least a four-year degree has increased from 22% to 41%, Pew said. Meanwhile, college attendance among Republicans remained roughly the same. Quote, as a result, in 2020, end quote, requote, college graduates make up a much larger share of Democratic than Republican voters, 41% versus 30%. But as Lupu told me, a college education is only one factor which makes up the working class, and that matters less now than it has in the past. The working class is made up of plumbers with college degrees, hairstylists with GEDs, and small business owners with high school diplomas. It's a category that's hard to pin down. Less so the upper class, which tends to have higher education as well as higher incomes. And with colleges and universities showing an alarming lack of ideological diversity in their faculty and fewer working class and middle class families able to afford tuition, higher ed is likely going to keep turning out democratic-leaning denizens of the upper class. Democrats who try to recapture the working class by promoting candidates like Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who, despite having a master's degree in public policy from Harvard, has a penchant for tattoos and hoodies. And to be fair, the working man advocate Vance has an Ivy League law degree. But the upwardly mobile bend of the Democratic Party is undeniable at this point, as Deseret/Harris X data shows, and when it comes to working class, the GOP has an advantage over right now. So, okay, first thing you need to understand, law of convergent behavior. People exhibit the same behavior, voting for one party or another, for different reasons. Reapplying the law of convergent behavior, you can say law of convergent groups. People associating groups for different reasons. So, what does the GOP and what does the Democratic Party and what does the Republican Party really mean anymore? They're two large groups of multiple groups of people who are consistent of other subgroups, consisting of other subgroups. They converge because there's only really two parties to really vote for. These parties are all forming coalitions because they are completely feckless on their own. That's why the two-party system exists. And you can say the same thing is happening in Europe, even though on paper there's most Western EU countries, they have 7 to 10 different political parties. They still form into two coalitions. Because they have enough in common with each other. They say, you know what? In order to beat those guys, we need to collaborate. So that's what they do. This is what these two parties mean. So again, I ask you, what the fuck does it matter which quote unquote party that these people belong to? Politics is more about who is in the institute, who has the throne, and who wants to knock them out of it, and who wants to leave the kingdom entirely. GOP or Democrat doesn't fucking mean shit anymore. So there's loose correlations. So Democrats are generally more woke, as defined earlier in this show, and GOPs tend to be a defiance to it. But the associations in which each party forms itself is very messy. So, yeah. Okay, last article. USA Today. U.S. life expectancy problem is, quote, bigger than we ever thought, report finds. By Adriana Rodriguez, USA Today. So the subheadline, couple walks through a park at a sunset in Kansas City, Missouri. U.S. life expectancy dropped for 2 consecutive years in 2020 and 2021, making the first such trend since the early 1920s, according to a new government report. This is odd. The country's life expectancy problem gained renewed attention in recent years during the COVID-19 pandemic, after seeing the largest drop since World War II. Good. As U.S. life expectancy continues to plummet, a new report found the country has been at a life expectancy disadvantage since the 1950s and has only gotten worse since then. The study published Thursday in the American Journal of Public Health also shows that more than 50 countries have surpassed the U.S. in life expectancy since the 1930s, and a handful of states may be partly responsible. The scale of the problem is bigger than we ever thought, older than we thought, and the number of countries outperforming the United States is much larger than we thought, says study author Dr. Stephen Wolfe, director emeritus of the Center on Society and Health at Virginia Commonwealth University. What a fucking title, Jesus. Oh man, my panties are so wet with that much authority. Ooh. The findings offer a new perspective on U.S. life expectancy and shed light on how to reverse the trend, experts say. Oh, jeez. Oh, fucking entice me. What is this shit? Oh, this is actually the other article I wanted to get to. We'll get to that in a minute. Quote, taking the historical perspective, the U.S. began seeing dramatic increases in life expectancy in the early 20th century, mainly as a result of public health advances such as vaccines and sanitation, Wolfe said. The new report shows that growth continued into the 50s, with life expectancy ranking 12th highest in the world, but the growth rate began declining in 1955 and in 1968. The U.S. had fallen to 29th. The decline began much earlier than researchers had thought, Wolfe said. When asked when this problem began, quote, we cited the 1980s because we haven't gone back far enough in historical data to see what's happened before, he said. That there was a decline in the 1950s raises questions about what was going on then. Life expectancy growth rate rebounded in 1974. Again, life expectancy. There's life expectancy, and then there's the growth in the rate of growth of life expectancy. What the fuck's... Oh my god. Wow, fucking splitting hairs here. According to a study then decelerated again in 1983, provisional data from 2021 shows that U.S. life expectancy dropped to 76.1 years. According to the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, the lowest it's been since 1996. The study relied on estimates from the UN Population Division and the U.S. Mortality Database, Wolfe said, which could skew exact rankings and year-over-year changes. But the general takeaway remains the same, says Michael Engelman, Associate Professor of Sociology and the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The timeline shows how life expectancy may be heavily influenced by systematic factors that are larger than individual health choices, like systematic racism, apparently. Black people die sooner, therefore racism. Yeah, solid theory there, doctor. Quote, taking the historical perspective teaches us that things are not predetermined, Engelman said. Things change, and that means there's a possibility for more improvement in the future. More countries are surpassing the U.S. I wonder why. The report also looked beyond the same small subset of peer countries like the United Kingdom or Canada that are typically included when studying life expectancy. By expanding the pool... Actually, you know what? I need a quick break. Let's just watch this video real quick. This seems kind of interesting.
The number of children per woman is falling in much of the world, especially in developed countries like the United States, like Europe, even in China and India. And so now the United Nations is projecting that the human race will hit peak population about 2084 and then start to roll back by the end of the century. This is tied to development. The single most important variable is women's education, sex education and professional education. Fertility rates, which is the number of children per woman. Is falling in much of the world, especially in developed countries like the United States, like Europe, even in China and India. And so now the United Nations is projecting that the human race will hit peak population about 2084 and then start to roll back by the end of the century. This is tied to development. The single most important variable is women's education, sex education, and professional education. Essentially, as women are presented with options besides just being a homemaker, right? So being able to go to school, get a career, they simply choose to have less children. A lot of economies are built around this idea of growth, like, right, continually growing productivity. And a lot of social systems are built around the young paying for the old. You need to pay more in benefits, you need to pay more in healthcare and in pensions, right, for that segment. And at the same time, you're losing population from your working age, right, your taxable tax base. So you get to pay more on one end, and there's less input coming on the other end. That can put a real strain on society, so I'm prepared for this. The good news is a lot of demographers say this doesn't have to be a giant crisis. Climate change is a really big concern right now. People in the wealthy nations are using way more fossil fuels than people in the developing world. Population, at least, is slow in growth, could potentially help with that issue a little bit. But a lot of times, countries that have lower fertility rates have that because they are wealthier, more developed nations and often happier nations. You can have a better world with less people, but also less inequality, right, and more education and more empowerment.
Alrighty, there we go. There's me showing off my fucking production quality again. Um, okay. No, actually, no.
Fertility rates, which is the number of children per woman, is falling in much of the world, especially in developed countries like the United States, like Europe, even in China and India. Fertility rates, which is the number of children per China and now the peak population about 2084, and then start to roll back by the end of the century. This is tied to development. The single most important variable.
Actually, you know what? Okay, we'll look at that again later. Okay, so the report also looked beyond the same small subset of peer countries like the United Kingdom or Canada are typically included when studying life expectancy. By expanding the pool to include countries with populations over 500,000, the report found that the 56 countries have surpassed the U.S. in life expectancy since 1950 and have included countries with smaller economies, lower populations, and different government systems. Middle-income countries made enough gains in life expectancy to catch up and then surpass the U.S. during times when the country's acceleration slowed, Wolf said. By 2019, the U.S. ranked 40th among populous countries, lower than Lebanon and Albania. Countries that don't necessarily have all the support systems and infrastructure and policies that exist in higher income countries are still outperforming, quote unquote, the U.S., he said. What are they doing in these countries that have enabled their people to live longer? Some U.S. states are worse than others. Since the 50s, life expectancy grew at a different pace throughout the country, according to the report. Northeastern and western states have experienced the fastest growth, Wolf said, while South Central and Midwestern states saw the slowest growth. The cluster of these states really played an outsized role in producing these poor rankings for the United States, he said. States doing very well, like Hawaii, New York, and other high performers, are ranked among some the same life expectancy as some of the healthiest countries in the world. Quote, state policy matters. More Americans die younger in states with conservative policies, study finds. What the fuck? How the fuck is that even correlated? The findings support previous research showing how policy decisions affect health outcomes and ultimately life expectancy. Quote, the things that influence health and longevity are operating on multiple levels, Engelman said. The story of our health goes far beyond the thing that we can personally control. So, okay, you know what? Let's look at this. So, the World Health Organization, fuck these guys, but I mean, just for reference. Number one cause of death, ischemic heart disease. Okay? I know what this is, but just for you guys. Oh, hold on. This is 2019. I don't think it's far off. 2023. Let's go 2023. So, leading infectious causes of death. No, shut the fuck up. I want top 10 cause. Number one, still coronary artery disease, like atherosclerosis. So, okay, number one cause of death. Number two, stroke. That's probably related. That's obviously a cardiovascular issue. So stroke being like the brain bleeding, and the nervous responses to it. You could say it's partially related to cardiovascular disease. Number three, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So lung disease, right? Now, number one cause of death, still 5,000, 8,000 per, 8,000 today, 4 billion this year. Okay, so a lot of these things, lung cancers, that's kind of arguable. The chief cause of lung cancer is probably smoking. Every culture smokes tobacco. That's kind of already established, right? Trachea, bronchus, and lung cancer. Okay, diabetes. Oh, here's another good one. Diabetes. Road injury, surprising. That's not entirely in your control. However, there's things you can do to prevent it. So, okay, let's list some of the big ones. Cardiovascular disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia, diabetes, diarrheal diseases. What the fuck? So this is infectious disease. Yeah, okay, these really aren't in your control. And these are all kind of starting to split hairs compared to these major ones. Where the fuck does this say that things that influence health and longevity are operating at multiple levels, and the story of our health goes far beyond things that we can personally control? Yes, those are literally out of your control. So don't worry about things outside of your control. Do you know what are the best 3 things to prevent cardiovascular disease? Diet, exercise, and stop abusing drugs. Stop relying on all these substances to provide you well-being when you're supposed to create that with your lifestyle choices. Understand what your body needs. Remove yourself from the chronic stress. And eat right. And exercise regularly. Lots of it. For all intents and purposes, for the majority of people, the more the better. But people don't want to fucking do that, and that's why they die. Everyone eventually will die. Everyone's lives are finite, but that's why they die. Usually along the time of life expectancy, often sooner. And that's causing the decrease in life expectancy because of the really just lack of accountability to one's own fucking body. And you can spin this as racism or whatever. Shut the fuck up. So if you're a poor minority and all you can afford is like basically hyper palatable, this is a very scientific word right here, hyper palatable food, you have 2 options. You could eat less of it. Like, okay, you like Twinkies? Yeah, you can eat just 1 Twinkie and you're probably golden. Or you could, I don't know, go for something even cheaper since you're poor as fuck, like, I don't know, baking your own bread with really cheap white flour, and then or having some like frozen vegetables, which is also pretty damn cheap. That's a perfectly and then exercise regularly to burn the calories so you don't become overweight and have to deal with probably the leading causes of death 1, 2, 3, and 5. Definitely 7. Those are all related to obesity. Probably caused by it in a lot of senses. Caused by the not just the being overweight, but the health ramifications of being overweight. Excessive cardiovascular strain, lack of muscular motility of energy substrates. So then all the accumulations in your blood, thus leading to an overuse of the pancreas. An eventual, I guess you can say, pancreatic fatigue or degradation, which leads to diabetes, both type 1 and type 2. Yeah, but of course people don't want to fucking hear that. No one wants to hear the truth. The truth is what really will set you free, but people can't be helped. They don't want to be helped. Fuck them. And the death and the life expectancy will go down. So all you can do as a human being is listen to what I'm fucking telling you, which is just all really basics. Really, really basic procedures to respect your body and live longer. It's so simple, yet no one's going to fucking do it. So it's not, I shed no tears. And I think according to this, like, the population is going to go down as well not because of life expectancy, but because people don't feel a need to have children, and that's why the birth rates are not matching the death rates. You know, why is this a problem? Don't worry about it. Do you want these people around? I don't. Fuck them.
Pensions, right, for that segment, and at the same time you're losing population from your working age, right? Your taxable tax base. You get to pay more on one end, and there's less input coming on the other end. That can put a real strain on society, so I'm prepared for this. The good news is a lot of demographers say this doesn't have to be a giant crisis. Climate change is a really big concern right now. People in wealthy nations are using way more fossil fuels than people in the developing world. Population, at least, is slow in growth, could potentially help with that issue a little bit. A lot of times, countries that have lower fertility rates have that because they are wealthier, more developed nations and often happier nations. You can have a better world with less people, but also less inequality, right? More education and more
There's always going to be inequality. More education and empowerment. Oh my God. Oh God. Shut the fuck up. Okay, what's the next article? Okay, so I guess to add on to like the longevity thing and the life expectancy. So here's this fucking stupid ass article. Let's see if it really is that stupid. Okay. So from USA Today, in the health category, quote, a blueprint for longevity. Some A new study has an answer for why some people live to be over 100. By Adriana Rodriguez. Bilingual health reporter. Okay, whatever. So, okay, let's watch the video first. Professor spending more than 100 days underwater to research. Oh, damn it. Professor spending 100 days underwater. A professor is spending 100 days underwater to research how to slow the aging process. Excuse me. I break the previous record of 73 days by staying 30 feet underwater in a specially built lodge.
This is the kitchen, and the work area doubles as science area, and we do all of our collection stuff in here, spend most of the day in here. Our tube is about 8 feet in diameter, about 13 feet long. It's about 100 square feet of living area per se.
Duturi will need to take vitamin D supplements to counter a lack of sunlight. He'll teach classes and undergo several examinations, including ultrasounds, blood panels, and stem cell tests. I don't see how the fuck these are connected, but let's go find out. Okay. So, okay, scientists to spend more than 100 days underwater to research how to slow the aging process, as if that's going to have fuck all to do with aging. Joseph Duturi, a U.S. Navy diver. I can't highlight this text for some reason.
Fertility rates, which is the number of children per
What the
woman,
fuck?
is falling in much of the world, especially in developed.
There we go. I fucking highlighted. Joseph Duturi, U.S. Navy diver, 28 years, will be 30 feet underwater at Jules Undersea Lodge in Key Largo, Florida, to conduct aging research. From Scott L. Hall, USA Today. Okay. Throughout history, brilliant minds have tried to figure out the secret behind living longer. Much of the research has credited diet and exercise, but a group of scientists explained... Yeah, you know what? Instead of telling people to, like, I don't know, do shit that's probably free, like dieting and exercise, let's go tell people to go on a fucking undersea travel resort and sell it to them for fucking God knows how much fucking money. Because that's clearly a much better result. Because people just don't want to fucking diet and exercise and sleep properly. And I don't know, make modifications to their jobs so they don't have to deal with so much chronic stress. God forbid. God forbid we tell people to take some charge over their fucking lives. Aaron Clary is so right. Oh my God. Sell the lie. No one will pay for the truth. Fuck me. Oh. Researchers from Boston University and Tufts Medical Center found people who lived to be 100 years or older. It's called centenarians. May have a unique composition of immune cells that's highly protective against illnesses, according to a study published Friday in the peer-reviewed journal Lancet eBiomedicine. Yeah, like athletic training makes yours like cells resistant to, like, I don't know, being weak and fucking useless. Our data support the hypothesis that centenarians have protective factors that enable them to recover from diseases and reach extreme old ages, said lead author Tanya Karagianis, a senior bioinformatician. Oh, Jesus, all these fucking... At the Center for Quantitative Methods and Data Science and Institute for Clinical Research and Health Policy Studies at Tufts Medical Center. People with normal immune systems are exposed to infections, recover from them, and learn to adapt to future infections. While the immune system's ability to respond to infections declines with age, scientists hypothesize this may be different for centenarians. Researchers analyzed immune cells circulating in the blood taken from 7 centenarian participants in North America and identified immune-specific patterns of aging and extreme human longevity. They compared this information with other publicly available data that looked at immune cells from people ranging across the human spectrum, from across the human lifespan and found that centenarians' immune profile did not follow trends associated with natural aging. The findings, quote, provide support to the hypothesis that centenarians are enriched with protective factors that increase their ability to recover from infections, said Senior Paola Sebastiani, Director of Center for Quantitative Methods and Data Science, Institute for Clinical Research and Health Policy Studies at Tufts Medical Center. Okay, here's a sub headline for the picture. Clues to escaping Alzheimer's. Doug Whitney inherited the same gene mutation that gave Alzheimer's disease to generations of relatives by the average age of 50. Yet at 73, his mind is sharp. To scientists, he offers a chance to learn how the body may resist Alzheimer's. From March 16th. It is okay. Back to the article. It's unclear if this unique immunological ability is genetic, naturally occurring, or a confluence of outside factors, said senior author Stefano Monti, associate professor of medicine, biostatistics, and bioinformatics at Boston's University School of Medicine. The answer to what makes you live longer is a very complex one, he said. There's multiple factors. There's the genetics, what you inherit from a parent. There's lifestyle. There's luck. Study authors hope that the report's findings build on existing research that could help develop therapeutics for the world's aging population. Centenarians and their exceptional longevity provide a blueprint for how we might live more productive, healthful lives, said senior author George J. Murphy, associate professor of medicine at Boston's University School of Medicine. So, what the fuck did the diving underwater do for these people? What the hell is what? Come on now. I wanted my fountain of youth found in a submarine for $10,000 a month. I already have the money in my hand. Where is it? What the fuck? Oh, this is so stupid. Oh my god. Let me go look at my Discord server real quick and see if they can find that article again. Okay, I think there's... Okay, I guess so this is tangentially related to it. And we'll have one more health article at the end of it. Come on. Okay, so this is the... Yeah, that's the video we were looking at earlier, weren't we? So, here's what he learned. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. How old is he? 55? Not the worst. Not the worst fatigue. No homo. All due respects. He's got a bunch of fucking... Oh, that's just his teammates. Like, this dude's in shape. He clearly exercises. He uses his body. And since he's actually like functional, he looks functionally strong. Like, his center of mass is still a center of mass. He has a lot of like, a lot of space in it. Let's zoom on this picture. Let's examine this man's body. No homo. So, like, okay, his arms, tone, body fat percentage, definitely below 20. His center of mass is large, and he's got like his traps are also well developed. Got plenty of room for his lungs to expand, for his rib cage to move up and inward and outward, or widen and contract. So good cardiovascular health. There's you know, he's got his hard point here. You know, he's got his missile ready to go. Probably works normally. Again, no homo. Legs are a little thin, but I mean, if that's all type 1 muscle, I mean, cardiovascular strength. So obviously he's flexing his arms. This dude generally takes care of himself. So I got to ask you, if he lives, let's say in another 50 years, he makes it 105. Is that because of his fucking time underwater? Or is it because he's generally taking care of his body? Just a thought, you know? Let's not ad hoc ergo propter hoc this shit again. Initial observations. Dituri's main purpose while living underwater is not to break records. He wanted to study how the human body responds to long-term exposure to extreme pressure and whether living in hyperbaric pressure can slow the aging process. He's passionate about biohacking. Fucking shut the fuck up. Oh my god. And plans to live to be 110 years old. Let me guess, he fucking does the keto diet. And I don't know, CrossFit, vapes. Brags about how many pull-ups he can do. Oh, man. Oh, shit. So, Dituri underwent a... Oh, he probably avoids gluten, I bet you. Dituri underwent a battery of physiological and medical tests before he started living in a 100-square-foot special habitat, 25 feet below the surface. Which is... They're controlling the air pressure. What the fuck's going on? Why does he have to go underwater to fucking... Oh my god, what a medical team continued running tests on him while he was underwater and will continue to do the upcoming weeks. They're monitoring brain waves, heart rate, blood pressure, ear pressure, urine, oxygen saturation, muscle measurements, among others. Since living underwater for 200 days, Dituri has shrunk in height by half an inch, gotten 60 to 66% or more rapid eye movement sleep compared to 40% prior. Who the fuck just jumped in?
Asshole gets fucked 6 ways from Sunday.
Yes, welcome, Adrian.
Sorry it took me so long.
What soundboard is this? Oh, this is Discord soundboard, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a voice mod. You can download it as like an extension to Discord, I think. I don't know.
It'd be nice if you can change like the different chord sequences as you speak, but
well, there's like 3 different voice options, and then of course you can play with like bass, middle, treble, and stuff. But if you want more, you have to pay for it. So how do I sound now?
It's off. Just your normal AG voice.
How about now?
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed?
Nope.
Count that now.
Now you're someone else. Good job.
Yeah, anyway, I started jerking my dick around and around and around and around.
I need to try this stuff out. That sounds like a lot of fun. Wonder how they do that. That's pretty impressive. Anyway. So right now we're on an article about some fucking ex-Navy diver is apparently who's also a scientist, quote. And he spent 100 days underwater in some fucking pod, and he's trying to pitch this as like a treatment for longevity. And my argument is that if you look at this picture of him, like he's just like a generally like strong, fit dude to begin with, and in 50 years, it's hard to say if he made it to 100 because of the fucking underwater living or because he's just like overall healthy. So let me stream my screen so you can see what we're looking at. So here's the dude. So yeah, like, you know, he's clearly in shape. Body fat less than 20%. And like what I smell is happening right now is that they're probably going to sell some kind of like some longevity therapy by sending people underwater to live in this like fucking submarine of sorts and control the barometric pressure and somehow amount this to the reasons why that he's getting like better health results, and then they'll fucking like collect the profits in the meantime. Obviously only a small number of rich people can fucking afford this kind of bullshit, but that's what I see. It's going to happen.
So why not just suck the blood of the newborn babies?
You know, that's even more expensive. And there's too much liability. So it's cheaper to just pretend that you were doing something for your health by changing the air pressure you're exposed to. Because apparently the only argument I can see here is that like the air pressure can affect like your blood pressure, but blood pressure is usually a symptom, not a cause. And if your blood vessels burst, it's not because your pressure is too high. It's because your veins are weak and your endothelial lining is not flexible like it's supposed to be. So, and it's not flexible because it's covered in basically calcified plaque buildup, which is known as atherosclerosis. And that's mainly a diet and lifestyle issue, more than the fucking pressure that you're exposed in. So it's just like fallacies on top of fallacies on top of fallacies because people just really are actively, at this point, actively refusing diet, exercise, and overall lifestyle management. So yeah. So okay, who cares? 100 days underwater. All right, what are the results? What's the show us the data. He stayed in shape. There we go. Here look at this. Okay, so he stayed in shape by doing 100 push-ups and sit-ups a day in addition to yoga. He has a very regimented diet, eating 3 eggs in the morning, a hearty salad for lunch, and meat and vegetables for dinner. He didn't drink alcohol or eat desserts. Dituri joked that the most important item he had on board might have been his coffee maker, which is fucking wrong. He also had a microwave but couldn't do cooking beyond that because of the pressurized conditions. To explore everything and anything new always results in personal and professional discoveries, Dituri said. The experience had changed me in more important ways, and my greatest hope is that I have inspired a new generation of explorers and researchers to push past boundaries. So, okay, 100 push-ups and sit-ups a day. So he's toning to two groups of muscles. In addition to yoga, stress control, flexibility, mobility, stress and probably some blood pressure regulation as well. He's had a very regimented diet, eating 3 eggs in the morning, a hearty salad for lunch, and meat and vegetables for dinner. So probably not very dense in calories. So 1 egg is like 60 calories. So that's 180 calories for breakfast. A hearty salad for lunch, probably like maybe 100 calories, depending. Given there's nothing on it. Meat and vegetables, well, it depends on how much. He had his rule for controlling calories, so he's not going to be overeat. He's not going to be overeating. He didn't have desserts. He did not drink alcohol. And this, depending on what kind of meat he ate, there's probably not a lot of fat in the diet either. So, yeah. Controlling your calories, exercising regularly. What the fuck does being underwater have to do with his health? It's the most brilliant scam ever. And it probably lasts for a few years as like a bunch of rich people sign up for this bullshit. Oh man. So yeah,
it's forcing people to stay away from food.
Literally. Yeah. And make it so exorbitantly expensive for someone to send you food that you just don't eat. And then, oh my god, you lose weight. Holy shit, it's the fucking magic cure. It's because I spent all 100 days underwater. That's how I lost weight. God, people are so fucking dumb. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, AG, you came late. I blew through how many articles? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. The 10th being this one I just talked about.
No, where the white women out.
They are not here. They don't want to listen to facts and logic because they're liberals. That's where the white women are at. So anyway, I guess we'll just recap briefly since finally I got some co-hosts. All right, so Moms for Liberty listed as an anti-government group by extremist watchdog. What are your thoughts on that?
List by who? Listed as an extremist group by who?
Southern Poverty Law Center. I'm sure you've heard of that before.
Okay, are they
They're basically a quote-unquote independent watchdog group, I guess you can say, which is about as independent from the government as like a toll booth company or toll gate company.
So why does it matter?
Hmm?
Why does it matter?
My argument is that the government is actually using the First Amendment to push against people who are unhappy with public school and what they're showing kids. My argument is that if you do not want the kids, you don't want to co-parent with your kids. No, if you don't want the government to co-parent with you, God damn it. If you don't want the government to co-parent your kids with you, then stop fucking sending them to the government 7 hours a day, aka public school. But this group wants it both ways. They want the public schools to answer to their agenda, but at the same time raise their children for 7 hours a day. Meanwhile, the Southern Poverty Law Center classifies Moms for Liberty in the same group as the Oath Keepers, the Three Percenters, and the John Birch Society. Whatever the fuck those are. So literally, they're trying to they're on this. It's basically hook, line, and sinker to classify Moms for Liberty as somehow a hate group because they're quote unquote attacking public education and banning books and removing any curriculum that contains discussions of race, discrimination, LGBTQ plus identities, end quote. So on paper, yes, actually it is a attempt to block the freedom of speech to other people, but freedom of speech can extend to all types of speech, including things that offend you. So that's just the interesting twist. I just thought that was funny. And none more than the fucking suburbanite Karens are the ones coming to bitch, and I don't give a shit about either of them. But yeah. Thoughts? Going once, going twice?
So I mean, no real thoughts, to be honest. For me, it's really no different than the fucking LGBTQ plus minus divided by signs colon whatever people saying that, hey, it's not safe to travel to X and X and X states because they have laws against transgender people or whatever. It doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah. I mean, if you have children in the future and you send them to American public school, I'm curious if that would change your opinion. But until then, yeah, I don't give a shit either. Like for real, if I had kids and I saw them, okay, and probably if I had kids and my wife is stupid enough to not raise them while I go to work as the man, and I had to take them to public school, what I'd do is I would fucking talk to my children after picking them up from school, saying, "Hey, kiddo, what are they teaching you? How are your friends? How's the lunch?
What kind of books are you reading?
What kind of books are you reading? Can you show me? Go check them out from the library and bring them home. Dad wants to see them." And I look at them and I'll tell them, "Okay, look, this is what they're doing. 1, 2, 3. This is bullshit, but don't tell them because they don't want to hear it. They don't care to hear it. You can trust me or you can trust them. That's your call as an independent human being, aka my child." And that's all you can do. You can't fucking control what the school thinks. Like, voting, why should they give a shit about what you say? Unless you have 100 other people behind you that say the exact same thing with some other threats behind that statement. So, that's how you raise, a child to be a fucking person with 2 brain cells as an adult. And, yeah, which is what the second article is actually talking about, just this. And I'm not here to, mock. I'm actually here to praise this lady. Rebecca Rowland. She literally wrote a book teaching people, and this is fucking sad that we have to look for a book for this. Teaching people how to talk to your kids and how to tell them to think for themselves. And how to teach them to figure out if people are actually listening to what they have to say. It's amazing. And I'm not gonna reread the article to you, but you should seriously check this out. But yeah, and that was awesome. That was really an eye-opening moment. And then I did this about DeSantis and Trump arguing about what the word woke means, which is funny. What do you think woke means? No?
I don't know, dude.
Fair enough. Okay, Article 4 was...
It's like assault rifle. It's one of those words that gets just kind of thrown around and just
A
used for
buzzword,
whatever it
right.
wants to be used for.
Right.
Like, here's my assault rock that I just beat you to death with. I mean,
Based. Okay, Article 4 was from Pure Wow, like some fucking women's like gossip magazine. It's titled "We're Calling It Gophering is a New Ghosting," which I mean it's kind of the same thing. Ghosting is just the latter half of gophering. And gophering is just about how people are fucking ADHD and they can't commit to anything, and that's why they achieve nothing in life, and that's why they're pussies. I did a couple articles talking about how retail is moving out from the urban areas of cities because of the uncontrolled theft. And I pointed out that it's because the theft is happening because that's a negotiation between the voter and the politicians. That's democracy for you. Trademark. AI needs regulation, apparently. It's an opinion piece, and I state no, because the regulation is just a stranglehold in this development. And it's basically an assertion that, okay, our moral idealism is more important than technological development for the betterment of the entire society. There's this law of conjugal behavior and how the Democratic Party became the party of the upper class. You know, yeah, I probably don't care about it. Nobody gives a shit about that. A blueprint for longevity. Apparently, some people have genes for certain... People just genetically have a stronger immune system or something. And this article just basically states nothing other than the fact like diet, exercise, and like lifestyle is probably the only thing you can really control. Then we're back to like the fucking scientist who lived underwater for 100 days, and apparently that's going to make him live longer. Or no, actually not. Here we are. We'll close the loop. So that was my show today. Yeah, we're still live. Any other things you want to pitch into the conversation?
Remember to always stay a real nigga. What? You got a problem with my voice? I'm over here just straight capping, my G, my good ass. Nigga.
Yeah, we'll see if that gets my channel fucking... fucking... What is it?
What?
Striked again. Oh well, whatever. So, thank you guys for watching. It's been real, I guess. I hope I'll find something as good next week. I'm hungry. I need to go. Yeah.